You are 24 years old, sitting alone in a Denver coffee shop on an otherwise normal Wednesday morning. A latte cools in front of you. The Rockies fill the window in a way that still catches you off guard. Then your phone buzzes, signal message from an unknown number. You are flying to Fort Bragg tomorrow. No brief, no context, no question mark, just one sentence that has just reorganized your entire week. You read it once, then you read it twice more to make sure it is actually real. You look up. The coffee shop is completely normal around you. Nobody has any idea what your Wednesday just became. To understand why a company sends a 24-year-old to a military base on 12 hours of notice, we have to rewind 6 months. It started with a job posting you almost did not apply to. 3 clicks buried on the Palantir careers page. The title was Forward Deployed Engineer. You did not really know what that meant. Almost nobody outside the company does. Round 1 was a recruiter screen, standard behavioral stuff. Tell me about a time you solved a problem without enough information. You passed. They sent you to round 2. The invite just said case study. You spent a week practicing supply chain modeling on your kitchen whiteboard. You still felt like you were guessing. The interviewer wore a hoodie. He barely blinked. He watched you draw boxes and arrows for an hour. When you finished, he asked one question that made you realize you had missed the whole point. Round 3 was in person in Denver. 2 engineers waiting at a small table. One of them looked like he had been up for 40 hours. Hoodie, coffee, and a stare that could crack glass. He probably had been. You would learn later that this was normal. That was the whole culture. You walked out convinced you had bombed it. You called a friend from the airport and told him to lower his expectations. Then came 2 weeks of refreshing your inbox every 15 minutes like a lab rat pressing a lever. Then on a random Tuesday, the email came. Subject line simply read, Palantir offer. You opened it, read the number on the salary line, then read it again to make sure the decimal was in the right place. You leaned back in your chair with your hands on your head. You did not speak for 10 minutes. Then you called your parents. Your dad asked if it was legal. Your mom asked if it was safe. Neither of you had a clean answer. Your first day, they handed you a laptop, a badge, and a folded black hoodie. That is not a joke. That is the uniform. The hoodie was plain with a small logo patch. You put it on in the bathroom before your first meeting. You looked at yourself in the mirror. New job, new uniform, a new version of yourself under construction. You spent your first 2 weeks in a training program called FDE 101, Forward Deployed Engineering, the philosophy of the role. They put you in a small classroom with 15 other new hires, everyone wearing the same hoodie you were wearing. The core lesson of the entire program was 3 simple words on a slide. Eat the customer's problem, not solve it, not consult on it, eat it. Live inside it until you know it better than they do. You learned Foundry, Apollo, AIP. You learned the ontology model, which is Palantir's claim that reality becomes clean data if you push hard enough. You met Marcus in the cafeteria on a Tuesday. He was eating alone. He waved you over without smiling. Marcus was a senior FDE. 3 years in, he looked closer to 30. His hoodie had a small tear at the sleeve. He said the first deployment is fun. The second one breaks you. Then he took a slow sip of coffee. You laughed because you thought it was a joke. He did not laugh back. He just watched your face. You started staying late at the office, not because you had to, because everyone else did. The culture was gravity. You walked out most nights at 11 p.m., with the mountains barely visible against the dark Colorado sky. 2 months in, you got the call, wheels up in the morning, your first real deployment as an FDE. Destination was a defense contractor drowning in Excel. Your laptop bag had 1 clean shirt in it. You slept on the flight. It would be the last time you did that for a while. You arrived on a Monday morning. Rental car, coffee, a security check that lasted longer than the flight. You got your temporary badge and a desk in a windowless room next to a broken printer nobody wanted to fix. They already had consultants from a major firm on site, been there 6 months, delivered 1 PowerPoint. You walked in with your laptop bag and your hoodie. Nobody in the room even looked up. Nobody took you seriously. That was fine. That was actually the ideal starting position. You spent 3 days doing nothing but watching, listening, sitting next to the ops guy while he did his job. On day 4, you went to the whiteboard, picked up a marker and started drawing what you had seen. Suppliers, purchase orders, lead times, freight routes, customs, the whole mess mapped out in boxes and arrows. That night you built an ontology, the next night a pipeline, the night after that a working dashboard. 3 weeks, not 6 months, 3 weeks from arrival to a working product. You presented on a Thursday, live data, real time. Everything they had been chasing on printed paper for years. The old executive in the corner of the room nodded once. Just once, you almost missed it. That single nod was worth more than the consulting firm's entire retainer. The consultants were gone by the end of the next month, their contract quietly not renewed. Nobody said your name. You called Marcus that night from your hotel room, told him it worked, told him about the nod. Marcus took a long pause on the phone, then he said congratulations, then he said now the real one starts. A week later you were on another plane, different airport, different hotel chain, same laptop bag, same hoodie, new city, new customer, new badge to clip onto your chest before the next security desk. You did not sleep on this flight. You worked the whole way. You would not sleep the same way for months. You unpacked in a hotel room that looked identical to the last one. Same carpet, same lamp. Same view of nothing. This site was a SCIF, windowless, escort required at all times. No phones past the door, no wristwatches with cameras. You worked 8 hours a day in a small room with a red light on the wall. The light meant classified session active. Then you went back to the hotel and worked 6 more hours. Nobody asked you to, you just did. You could not tell anyone what you were doing, not the details, not even the name of the client. Your world got very small. Hotel, SCIF, rental car, hotel again, repeat until Friday. You started calling home less, not because you did not want to, because you did not know what to say. Your group chat filled up with weddings, birthdays, a friend got engaged, another had a baby you had not met. You typed the same reply for 3 weeks straight. On deployment, cannot talk, will explain when I get back. 5 cities in 6 weeks. You lost track of what state you were in twice, once in an airport bathroom. You started sleeping in your clothes, hoodie still on, laptop still open, lights still on. Then at 2 a.m. one Wednesday night, a Slack message from Marcus lit up your screen. 4 words, that was all he wrote. The second deployment breaks you. He was checking on you. You did not reply right away. You just looked at the screen for a long time, then you closed the laptop. You looked at yourself in the hotel bathroom mirror at 3 a.m., and you did not recognize the person staring back. You boarded another flight the next morning anyway. Because that is what a forward deployed engineer does. Month 6, Defense Industry Conference in Northern Virginia. You had traded the hoodie for a Navy quarter zip. You did not remember when you made the swap. It just happened. Something about the hoodie stopped fitting the moment. You were walking the conference floor with a coffee when you saw a familiar face at a booth. Priya. You went through Vantage Dynamics onboarding with her last year before she jumped to their integration team. She saw you first, waved you over. Same warm smile she had the day you met. You spent the whole afternoon at her booth pretending to talk about interoperability. Between visitors, you compared notes. 2 laptops open on a folding table, 2 ontologies, same customer segment. Really, you were just catching up, trading stories about deployments, trading stories about the cost of them. It turned out her customer was your customer, 2 different vendors on 2 sides of the same building. A month later, you were on a joint deployment. Palantir on the data side, Vantage on the mission side. The customer loved it. 2 vendors, 1 coherent story. It was the smoothest engagement you had ever run. You went to dinner with Priya on the last night of the deployment. Small restaurant, 2 glasses of wine each. She asked you a question you had been avoiding for 6 months. She asked it while looking directly at you. She asked if you actually believed in what you were building. You did not answer right away. You looked at your plate. That night you were back in your hotel room. You opened your laptop. A New York Times article was in your feed. You had seen it before. You had probably skimmed it. You had definitely not read it carefully. Tonight you actually read it, all the way through, twice, then a 3rd time slowly, and you sat with it. You closed the laptop and sat on the edge of the bed for a long time. You stood at the window looking out at the city lights, cars, strangers, no plan forming yet. You called Marcus. He picked up on the first ring like he had been expecting you to call. He did not say much. He said everyone at Palantir has to make peace with the work in their own way, and if you cannot make peace with it, that is information too. You opened a notebook, old habit from your first real job. 2 clean columns on a fresh page. You drew a line down the middle. Reasons to stay on the left, reasons to leave on the right. The right column filled up faster than you wanted it to. You called your dad. He asked the same question Priya had asked at dinner. This time you had an answer forming, or at least the beginning of one. He listened for a long time before he said anything back. You went for a walk. It was almost midnight. Empty streets, cool air. You sat on a park bench. You watched strangers walk past who had no idea what your job even was, and somewhere in there you decided, A week later, you were on a rooftop bar in Washington, D.C., sun going down over the Potomac. You ordered a drink you did not really want, something dark, something the bartender did not have to explain. You had 2 emails open side by side on your laptop screen, both from earlier that week. The Washington Monument was lighting up in the distance, a slow orange sky behind it. On the left was a promotion, Palantir, deployment lead role in the DC office, more money, more responsibility, a team of your own, a track that ended in partner within 5 years. On the right was an offer from a small defense startup, the kind of company Marcus jumped to last year, less money, more equity, no safety net at all, a different bet on a completely different future. You thought about the last time you saw Marcus. He looked lighter, slept more, laughed more too. Your phone buzzed on the table, signal message from Priya, whichever one you pick, I get it. You sat there for a long time. Longer than the drink lasted, longer than the sunset itself, longer than you probably should have, but nobody was rushing you tonight. You watched the monument, you took another sip, your hand hovered over the trackpad without moving. You thought about the SCIF with the red light, the hotel mirror at 3 a.m., the New York Times article. Then you clicked reply. You do not know how long the reply took to write. You just know you sent it. You do not get to know which one you picked. That is not the part of the story that matters here. That is actually the whole point of the story. The choice is yours, not mine, because the truth about being a forward-deployed engineer is not about which offer you accept in the end. It is that the job never really stops. You are always deploying to something. To someone, to a version of yourself. To a customer, to a company, to a country, to the person you thought you would become when you started. Coffee shop, whiteboard, SCIF with a red light, rooftop at sunset, 4 rooms, 4 decisions. You chose the deployment, but you did not get to choose whether it changed you. Nobody ever does. That was your life as a Palantir forward-deployed engineer.